So, what is reality? Suppose we have Tom and Jerry, a cat and a mouse. How does Tom see Jerry and actually know that he's real? First, we need light. For anyone to be able to see, we need a source of light. What happens is that light hits the object that we're trying to see and reflects into our eyes. Light carries data about that object into our eyes. That data includes, in this case, Jerry's color, his size, texture, motion. All of this is data. So when it enters the eye, what does that make our eye? It's a sensor that processes data. And the way this works is that when light enters the sensor, it refracts and reflects into the back of our eye, into the retina. And the mechanics of this process are in such a way that the refraction causes the object to land upside down, which means that we see upside down. Everyone sees upside down. But how come we don't see upside down? Or do we? We wouldn't know. Here's where the brain comes in. The brain is a computer that processes that data from the sensor and corrects it. The brain adds context, it adds meaning to the reality. But here's where it gets even weirder. Tom doesn't know that Jerry's brown. Tom thinks that Jerry is black and white because cats and dogs are colorblind. Why is that? The data of color still hits Tom's eye. The data is there, but the sensor cannot decode that because the sensor cannot see color, which means when it goes to your brain, the code of color is not there. Does it mean it didn't exist? Of course not. Color exists, but for Tom's reality, it doesn't exist. Which begs the question, what about our sensor? Do we see everything out there? Of course not. For a matter of fact, we only see a very, very tiny part of the electromagnetic spectrum. We only see visible light, which means that the world around us, the way Tom doesn't have color in his reality, we don't even know the world around us and what's in our reality. It's a little bit like where the theory of the matrix comes from. It kind of is true, in a way. Because you know what? The sensor isn't just what we see. It's every feeling. What we hear, what we smell, what we touch. It's just data. It's signals. Your brain processes it and creates a reality. Now, reality is not just what we see. It's also what we believe. What we see, sky is blue, ground is solid, we just proved that that's not entirely true. It's a fraction of the truth. I mean, the ground's not solid. It's many, many particles constantly vibrating, but we decode it as something solid. What about the intangible? There's so much intangible governing our lives. One thing that governs our lives? Money. Does money have value behind it? It's been hundreds of years since there was actual value. You know, trade used to be, I trade a cow for a chicken, an egg for a piece of lamb. There was value. Today, we just print money. Where is the value coming from? It's iconic. We create the value. Inflations, wars, currencies, trade, the value is actually iconic. And it's crazy that this one paper dollar bill can determine if humanity has access to healthcare, education, something that's iconic. Borders, another thing. Greece, what is Greece? Do we walk to the edge of the country and we see this massive wall? Of course not. It's iconic. We create the notion of a border, imaginary, and we honor it. And it's crazy that past this imaginary line, we have countries, tradition, whole new language, whole new history, and past that line, it's another country. Ancient Greece would be totally different, my reality back then. We honor these lines on the map. Same as reputation. It doesn't really exist, history. It's stories that's passed onto us for generation and generation. Which means that reality is actually collective. It's something that as humanity, we create and share together. And for the first time in history, this reality is beginning to break. Why? Technology. We are in a moment of time called a paradigm shift. If any of you are aware, a paradigm shift is something very rare that happens that changes humanity forever. An example is the invention of fire thousands of years ago. What did this do? It brought us from the caveman era to the civilized era. Fire gave humanity the power to survive. Fast forward even faster, we have the invention of electricity. Another paradigm shift in our civilization. It gave humanity the power to transform. It led to the second industrial revolution, to the foundation of everything we have today. Fast forward even faster, 35 years ago only, we have the invention of the internet, the World Wide Web, only 35 years ago. This gave people the power to connect. I can send a message in seconds to Australia, and they can reply back in milliseconds. We don't even think of how powerful this is. Fast forward even faster, and why I'm saying faster and faster and faster is because these shifts are happening so quickly now that we don't have time to adapt. For the first time in history, we have, in 2026, 7 generations of people living concurrently. That's crazy. Fast forward to today, we're in another paradigm shift. The moment of AI, artificial intelligence. And this is giving people, humanity, the power to create reality. For the first time, we can create pictures and faces that never existed. That's crazy. Voices of these people that never spoke. Entire events of videos in history that never truly happened. And this isn't from a government or a lab or an agency or a conspiracy. It's from you, from every single one of us, from this little device called your phone that you have in your pocket that you can buy on the corner shop. We don't even think of how powerful this device is that everyone has access to. Your phone creates part of this reality. So yes, this technology is powerful, but the question isn't the power. Is this technology safe? 100 years ago, if you wanted to look at a person and understand them, you would look at their family, their friends, their education, the neighborhood they grew up in, their hobbies, right? And you could determine a lot about that person. Today, what do we look at? We look at their data. We look at their likes, their posts, their photos, their shares, their social media. That tells us a lot about the person, the digital footprint. Have you heard of the phrase, data is the new oil? Believe me, it really is the new oil. All of you use these applications that are free. WhatsApp, for example, it's free. Have you wondered how it's worth billions of dollars? How? We don't pay for it. You've all heard the phrase that when we don't pay for the product, we are the product. Our entire identity is online. When you scan your passport, how do they know it's you? Because the computer tells them. What if that was completely erased? Would you exist in this reality? As you know, my background is cybersecurity, and many, many years ago, cyber used to be about protecting the technology. Today, cyber is more about protecting the user in the technology. Because you know what? You don't have to break into a system if we can just persuade you to open the door. You don't need to steal an identity if you can just imitate it. Now, the greatest cost of all of this isn't monetary. The greatest cost to us is psychological. Because the human brain wasn't made to verify everything. Not only do we become misinformed, we're vulnerable. And because we're not made to verify, think of the example of Tom and Jerry. Tom's brain doesn't verify every signal coming in. We are overstimulated. We scroll on the phone for hours, and all this data is coming in, and our brain is becoming numb. It's becoming tired and disengaged, subconsciously. And what this means is that the human is not constantly questioning and verifying. We just exist. We go with our daily lives. We don't think of anything happening around us. We don't verify continuously. So when we stop trying to understand reality, what happens? It means someone else is building it for us. So who's building our reality? Who is this person? Who's setting the rules? Today's event is about rules. You know what? We live in a world today where, did we consent to AI? Did we consent to ChatGPT? Did we consent to any of this that's happening? Who is setting the rules? We talk about pollution. We don't want to pollute because our future generation, we want them to live in a clean world. What about AI? How's that going to change humanity? We forget that technology has no conscience. It doesn't know fairness. It doesn't know dignity. It doesn't know right from wrong. It doesn't know humanity. It doesn't have morals. Morals are the rules, which means that the most important code was never written in a machine. The most important code has always been inside us. For the first time in history, one person can influence millions. One post can move entire markets. One video can shape opinions, war, propaganda, politics. One line of code, technology, can affect entire societies, creating something that underpins or breaking something that underpins the foundations of today. And it's by you. When you sit on your couch, like I said, and mindlessly scroll, every single click, like, post, belief, share contributes to this collective reality, and we don't even know we're doing it. So maybe, did we break reality, or was it already broken? Because like I said, from the nature of our body, we never see everything. From the nature of humanity, it's all collective. Perhaps the question today should not be, what is real? The question today should be, what is right? Because no algorithm should decide our future. At the moment, it's doing that. That power is ours. We have the power, so we have the responsibility. You know why? Because reality is simply not what just exists. Reality is what humanity chooses to build together. Thank you.